Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. This is Selena Roane, and you've joined us on Close to Death. I got a really cool guest tonight, and I just learned actually how to say his last name because I have totally been butchering the hell out of it because I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm so proud. Chris Melancon. How's that?
Yeah, you got it. Congratulations.
Yeah.
One of
You
few.
can thank Kevin and Randy for that little tidbit.
Yes. Yeah. You know, a lot of people butcher it, but you know what? I'm just used to it. You know, because it's not really spelled out properly how it should sound. So I'm just like, whatever. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're from Texas and all country, it'd be Melancon. So there.
Florida too. It's just around my local area. They know the proper way to say it. You know.
Well, yeah, you know. So for those of my audience who are not familiar with Chris Melancon, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm the founder of Paranormal Society in New Orleans. We're a local group, obviously, in New Orleans. We investigate a lot of residentials, a lot of historical sites. I'm also the co-owner of NOLA Ghost Hunting Tours, where we take people on actual paranormal investigations. It's not a walking history tour. It's not, you know, I don't even know why we call it tours. I think we call it tours just because, you know, it's the simplicity of it. It's really actually us taking people and bringing them on a real paranormal investigation. How we conduct it, like if it was in somebody's home, or like let's say the Bourbon Orleans or Andrew Jackson Hotel. So that's basically who I am. You know, I do a lot of panels and speaking events on paranormal equipment. What's the theory behind the equipment, how it works, and actual evidence of that equipment, and also about paranormal theory. I try and do the very best I can to put the paranormal theory in a logical aspect, a scientific aspect about atoms and neutrons and protons in the air and how static electricity is formed. And, you know, I try and make best sense of it as I can because I was a skeptic who went out to disprove it and got a slap in the face. So
that's usually how it happens.
Yeah.
It has to happen to you for you to actually believe it. A lot of skeptics, we call it turning to the dark side because they don't believe, and then when something actually happens to them, a personal experience of whatever kind, it does change your mind a lot. Yeah. So when did you start in the paranormal actually? Have you been always interested or what?
Kind of intrigued. I remember I used to sit around and, you know, watch the ghost shows. You know, I mean, they've been around for about 15 years, you know. I always thought it was interesting. The question that came in my brain was, why are all these people going after this? You know, why is this so important? Why is it this something that's just like, you know, irrelevant? You know, people, right. Thousands and millions of people are saying, hey, this is relevant. Listen. So, you know, I kind of got into it. I always tell this story because it never changes. This is how exactly it happened. I went with a coworker to Comic-Con here in New Orleans. It was towards the end of the con. I almost got beat up by Data and a Trekkie, which was funny. Make sure you pronounce his name right, okay? It's Spiner, not Spinner, okay?
Aye.
That's a funny story. I went to meet him because I was getting an autograph from my dad. He grew up on Star Trek. And I said, hi, Mr. Spinner. It's nice to meet you. And he just blew up on me, you know. And then I had a Trekkie behind me all dressed up with the ears and everything. And he's like, Brett, don't worry about him. He just doesn't care, you know. And, so I'm going back and forth. But after that, my coworker was like, okay, I'm going to leave. And I was like, okay. I said, I'm going to do one more walkthrough of the whole convention, you know, the whole place, and see what else they got. And the very last table in the last part of the walkthrough, it was a paranormal group. And actually it was a high school buddy of mine who was there. And it's funny because I didn't go to high school in New Orleans. I went to high school, you know, 300 miles away up north, so did he. So it was kind of weird how we connected at that time. He asked me to come on an investigation. I didn't believe in the stuff, but I was intrigued by the equipment of it, you know. And I figured if this equipment can detect it and it's detecting it, how come nobody's eyebrows are raising up, you know? So I said, well, I don't believe this stuff is real, so I'm going to go out and disprove this stuff. And I went out on my first investigation, and, you know, we didn't get any evidence. People were kind of just running all over the place. It was just kind of like fans, you know? bought equipment and went out, but it was fun, and I still don't think the stuff was real. So I tried to get with a more serious group, so I did. I went and got with another group in New Orleans, and it was just one guy, basically, running around here doing all these residential investigations. It was just me and him. So for about 4 months, we did that, and my first paranormal encounter, I was still a skeptic after it. I was in this old barn, and it was on a tilt like this, and we had to climb up to this little hole, and I'm a big guy, I had to squeeze through. And the owner was like this big old farm-fed dude, like 6'5", 320 pounds, And I had this full-spectrum camera, and the claims were there was a big old oak tree right next to the barn. And he said numerous times that he saw shadows jump out of this tree and run to the back of the barn. They actually called the police one night, and the cops came out there, and he explained to the cops, and the cops looking at him like, yeah, right. Then all of a sudden, they heard the trees do like this and saw the shadow jump down and run in the barn. And the cop said, well, that's somebody. I just saw him. It's somebody. So the cop calls for backup. They surround the barn, and they go to move in. There's nobody there, So apparently they used to hang people back there way back in – this is in Raceland, Louisiana, okay?
Yeah, well.
I don't even know how to get there right now, okay? I need GPS. So we go into this barn, and, the other guy I was with, he was investigating the house, and I took the homeowner. I went in this barn. We had to climb up top, and we get up there, and we're moving around, and I'm fanning the camera, the full spectrum camera, and I'm saying, did you die here? And all of a sudden you hear, ooh. And I was like, is that an owl? Did you just hear an owl? And I turned and looked, and this big old dude was like white as a ghost. He's just scared. And I wasn't scared because I guess ignorance is bliss at this time, So we get out of there, and I didn't really think much of it. When I turned to a believer was when we went and investigated this little old trailer. And there's something about trailers. I don't know if y'all have this in Texas, but in Louisiana, they got some haunted trailers out here, I'm telling you, because I've experienced some stuff in the trailers. And I went into this trailer, and all of a sudden I had the K2 meter in my hand, and there was a flash. And I was like, well, let's see if there's something here. I said, are you here? And it flashed again. I went, that's interesting. And 3 people had died in the house. I said, well, I'm going to say 3 names. And if you're one of these people, make it flash to yellow. And I got to the 3rd name, and it flashed. And then I switched up the timing on it and the names. I mixed it all up. And when I got to that name on the second round, it went off again. And I was like, okay. And then later on that night, I'm in the middle bedroom, and I'm in the place by myself. And I hear footsteps go down the hallway into the living room. And I was like, whoa. I go out, and I walk out and says, anyone here? And I get a woman's voice, like cold breath in my ear. Yeah, just like that. And I was like, all right. What's going on here, So from then on, I just shut up. Then I found out I could help people, I came across my 6th investigation was a little girl who was hearing another little girl's voice at night coming into her bedroom, running into her mom's room screaming. So they run to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist goes, bam, paranoid schizophrenia, take this medication. So this girl who was upright, great personality, running around, was just like a zombie now. They had her on Seroquel, Ativan, just all this crazy stuff. And she's like a zombie. Even when I talk to her, she's like, yeah, I hear a voice. I still hear him. And I'm like, wow. And we ended up catching 2 little girl EVPs that night. And we played them for the family, and we played them for the girl. And she's like, that's the little girl I hear, So they were able to take her off the medication. And then she started to recover. It took her a while to recover, but she started recovering. So that's when I realized I could help people. So I formed, Paranormal Society in New Orleans. And, the other groups, I learned what to do. I learned what not to do. And then I just try to take that and run with it. We kind of blew up really quick, getting our evidence out there, being very dedicated and learning things, just trying to stay busy, So that's pretty much how I came about.
Well, that's pretty cool. I love it when I hear a skeptic. I'm hearing myself echo. Do you have? I don't know why.
I'm working on it.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I don't hear it now. Thank you. But I love when a skeptic is just like Randy Hardy and I talked, and he was a skeptic at first too. And I like it because I was also skeptical until, I mean, I had like things when I was a child, you know, deja vu and stuff like that, and the dreams and things like that. But I was still skeptical until I actually saw the doppelganger of my best friend. And that, I swear, will change your mind. If nothing else, that did it for me, right? So, I mean, I like it when skeptics start out and they're just hardcore. It's got to be something logical. It's got to be something scientific. And then there's a time when you can't explain that crap. You can't. There's nothing scientific about it that you can back it up. You can't explain that.
Exactly.
So, about the NOLA ghost tours that you have started now with actually Kevin Betzer, tell us a little bit about that and how that all works. I know you take people out on investigations, but kind of tell us how that all works with you guys.
Okay, well, the thing is, you know, it's in the heart of the French Quarter. I'm sure last week your listeners heard Kevin talk about the experiences that the Gemini had, the manager of the Gemini had, with him being scratched and everything like that. You know, and we have YouTube videos out there of us investigating it. But the whole third floor was just completely abandoned, you know, and it hasn't been touched in years and years and years. So what we decided to do is, you know, you come on down here. We got 2 tours a night, Friday through Monday, and it's a 7 o'clock tour and a 10 p.m. tour. It's 2.5 hours long each. You get into quick equipment introduction. You do have to sign a waiver saying if you do get hurt, it's on you. You know exactly what you're getting into before you come. This place is old. The building was built early 1800s. You know, and people have been scratched by spirits there. Crazy things have happened there, you know. And, you know, if something goes on with you or something like that, it's not our fault, you know. You wanted to come be a ghost hunter, and that's the chance you take, you know. I'm just being real. You know, I take no responsibility for what spirits do. You know, I just can't control them that way. Well, no,
you can't have them come on cue, and you definitely can't tell them what to do because they don't listen.
It's true. You know, it's structured, it's organized. You come in, we teach you really quick about the equipment. We won't get into deep discussion about it. We'll just tell you how it works, you know, and the theory behind it. Okay, so you can get a good idea because, you know, we only have a certain amount of time to do these things because it's a high demand for them, as you do know, especially in New Orleans. So what we'll do is you know, we'll split up. We'll bring 15 people in there at a time, split up into 2 groups, and then people will start off with flash EVPs, do baseline K2 readings. Hopefully the hopefully the REM pod will go off. We'll do an Echo Box, Spirit Box. You know, just get you an idea, a feel of what it's like to be a ghost hunter or a paranormal investigator, you know, and if it pops off and we have activity, which sometimes it does, we'll have amazing activity. We have documented evidence of this. It pops off. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we go in there and we'll get nothing. You know, it's kind of like renting a charter boat and asking somebody to take you deep sea fishing. You know, people pay a lot of money for that stuff. Sometimes you go out there and all you get is seasick. You know, so
I can attest to that personal experience.
So can I.
Oh my God. Never again will I do that. I was like, I paid $80 to come over here and I want to puke my guts up. Not happening again.
Yeah, exactly.
Lesson learned.
I was in a fetal position in the corner of the boat, just like, oh, okay, I'm about to die. All right, let's do it. I'm going to die at sea.
And my cousin that took my fishing pole, he came in there. He goes, "Hey, cuz, I just caught the biggest fish on the boat." And I'm like, really?
Nobody want to hear that crap. You go on with that. I'll puke on you right now.
Yeah, I'm fixing to spew on you as we speak. So the Jumani Lounge is one that I'm extremely interested in because when I do come down there next month, which can't get here soon enough, I definitely want to check out the Jumani Lounge. Can you kind of give everybody a little history on, because some people might not have seen last week's show, so I kind of want to give them a little bit on the Jumani because it needs to be, the story needs to be told. Those people kind of got shoved underneath the carpet, like you told me. So
yeah, it's the Gemini, and back in 1973, it was a gay bar. It was called the Upstairs Lounge. Because you have the door on the side of Iberville. It's on the corner of Charter and Iberville. And the door is on Iberville. And they had one of those little things back in where you open up and say who's there, and you tell them and you crank it, and they let you in. You open up the door. What's the password? Just like that. And they let you, right when you open the door, it's straight stairs going straight up, take a left, and then you're on the second floor. And that's where the fire broke out in 1973. Someone was kicked out of the bar for being disgruntled, okay? And they went and got a tank of gasoline, came back, soaked the stairs with it, lit a match, and the place just went engulfed. There's pictures on our video of the minister there. He was a gay minister because upstairs at the time it was a worship place for gays. He's actually, the bars on the window, he's actually stuck in the bars. Burnt. That's where he died at. There was a story, and this is a sad story, and it's hard for me to tell because I almost cried. I did cry when the manager told me this story. There was a 18-year-old boy from Florida, just a kid. He was gay, and his mother, had it out because, of course, especially in 1973, nobody was
not cool.
Not cool at all. So. She disowned him pretty much, and he had a boyfriend in New Orleans, so he came down to New Orleans with his boyfriend. They were both partying in the upstairs lounge that night, and she actually had a change of heart and said, I'm going to accept my son for who he is. This is his life. This is what he wants to do. I'm going to be there for him. So she came to New Orleans from Florida and found him, okay? Looked for him, and they said, okay, well, they're over there at the upstairs lounge. She goes in there, gets him. All right, he's up there partying with his boyfriend. The boyfriend stays there. She brings him outside. They're talking things out, and then the fire breaks out. All right? He runs back in there to get his boyfriend, and they both die in each other's arms in the middle of the floor. And she runs back in there, too, when she realized it got bad, and she died 2 weeks later in Florida from the burns. Wow. So it's a very sad story. 32 people lost their lives that night, and there's a list of them, and there's tons of documentaries on it, but it's very sad. And like you said, a lot of people feel like their names have been getting swept underneath the rug, and you know what, I agree with you. But the owners of the Gemini and the marketing director of the Gemini are just so open to letting people come in and document. I think they've got a few different documentaries. They'll say whatever you guys want, because we want to give these people voices too, the people that died there. And they let ghost hunters from Sci-Fi Network come in and investigate. They've just been really cool about it, because they understand. They know how sad of a story this is. And I'm going to have to get those documentaries and put it up on my wall for people to check out, And so fast forward a little bit to today. Jonathan O'Brien is the marketing director and manager of the Gemini. Great guy. Really funny. He called us up. He called Kevin up. He's like, I've been scratched. And it's like, you've been scratched? Okay. And he comes in and he's telling me he's been scratched. And he doesn't know why. And then he's telling me he started digging up in the third floor attic. And he started pulling out all these artifacts, like little antique teacups, bones, newspapers, bottles from the 1860s, the newspapers from the 1860s, just all this historical stuff where they had an archaeology team come in and excavate the whole attic and pull all this stuff out, and it's now in a museum, actually. So, of course, 2 weeks after that, what happens when you start messing with stuff after it's been dormant for a couple hundred years? The spirits get aggravated. So he never really put two and two together why he got scratched. Until, we went there and talked to him. I was like, well, do you think that maybe you got scratched because of all this? And he was like, I didn't think about that, So we went in there, and we were thinking that the victims from the fire were the ones acting out, right? We're wrong. We haven't made any contact with any victims from the fire. It's insane. We investigated the second floor, third floor. We haven't made any contact. We made contact with people who died in the attic in the 1860s from yellow and cholera fever. Okay? We're paranormal investigators. We're going to go in, and we're actually going to get facts, There's been locations where I've gone in, they're like, well, we have kids here. And I go in there, and I'm like, well, no, because we got evidence of something else here. And they're like, wow, because that's what we do. We don't go in. We go in trying to back up the claims that are there, but we're actually going in to find evidence, facts, that we present to you. Look, I mean, there's no denying this. Listen to the spirit box, listen to the echo box, listen to our EVPs. This is what we get. So we make contact with a woman named Mary, and she had died up there. So back in the 1800s, when people got yellow fever, and cholera and scarlet fever, they used to put them away from everybody.
Yep.
So contamination, contain that, and they used to say, sweat it out. You'll sweat the fever out. You'll be okay. So they put them up, there, and that's where they died. And Jonathan pulled out a purse one time. He found an old uniform. He found a Civil War gun up there. So all these artifacts and everything. We have pictures and all this documented of what he found. So, So now that that's who we have contact, and every time we go in contact with it, that's what we find. Hopefully, maybe one day, the spirits from the 1973 fire will talk to us. We want to give them a voice. We want them to communicate with us because they still have relatives that are alive. You have survivors that are still alive that were just there last month for the documentary. And they want to know. I've been so we've been in contact with them too. So, we just want what's best for them, but we haven't made any contact with them. And it's my second home. I'm there 4 times a week,
Well, that maybe when I'm down there, like we discussed, maybe I can get on a level with them that maybe you guys aren't, who knows? I mean, I know you've had a gay psychic or whatever come in there, or a gay person come in there before.
I think they did. We haven't, though.
Yeah, but, who knows? We might stir something up. I might be able to actually get them to communicate with me. I don't know. We'll have to just try. But I do think they deserve a voice. And, you did tell me that they were, because of it being the 70s and because you weren't supposed to be gay and because it was kind of a private gay club, like you said, with the little password kind of window in it. That they were swept under the rug and weren't even talked about because they didn't want to bring out the fact that this is a gay club. Mm-hmm. Because back in those days, if there were 32 men and no women anywhere in sight, hello, if you're not on a ship and still that's questionable, in the Navy, then, something's going on. So I do have a question from your number 2 fan. Wanted to know... what is your favorite paranormal TV show? And I hope you get this answer right.
It's my YouTube channel. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's the one he was looking for, though.
www.youtube.com/paranormal Nullah. It's the best TV show.
Yeah. And also, we have another question. It says, now that Chris is involved in the paranormal, does he feel the city of New Orleans influences him? Do you think it has influence on this, on your paranormal passion?
Yeah, man, it's definitely fuel that adds to the fire. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because it was just okay, my passion is exploding here, and look at my backyard. My backyard is a paranormal palace. It's Disneyland for the paranormal, and I'm just well, I could just pick up a phone and call and go into one of the most haunted places, in America. And here's the thing, groups go to places and they do 10 investigations and hopefully they get lucky on 1 or 2, and get an EVP. It's the exact opposite for us. Okay, 1 or 2 places we won't have any activity. The other 8 are just this is insane. I mean, look what we've done in a year and a half with PSN. We've only been around a year and a half, and look at all the evidence that we've been able to get. We've been on the news. We've been on local radio shows, I mean, we've just been all over the place, and it's not really us. I wouldn't say because we're really, I mean, I like to think that we're pretty good paranormal investigators. We can always grow and get better, but you just put us in Disneyland for the most haunted city in America. We'd be idiots not to come out with evidence. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
it's kind of expected by the people that follow us. We know where you guys live. If you don't come out with paranormal evidence, it's kind of your fault, not freaking New Orleans,
Yeah.
So we just, it does influence me. I love it because I love the history, I love the people in this city, I love I love how we in 2005, we were hit by Hurricane Katrina, and we've just bounced back, and I work a lot with the homeless population down here, and trying to get a lot of homeless people back into society. And Katrina still affects everybody,
Yep,
So,
yep.
and I get asked this question all the time: has it become more paranormal, more active since Katrina? And I don't know because I was an investigator before then. So I just know New Orleans is really active. So
Yeah, it is. I have never been there, and I know y'all are chomping at the bit to get this little NOLA virgin down there, so y'all can what would you call it? I guess pop my cherry about being in New Orleans.
Hey, you said it, right?
I said it.
You said
okay?
it. Hey, Tyler, we went to Tyler, Texas 2 weeks ago, and man, that place is haunted. Like that chapel. I mean, I put the audio out there on that chapel, and I mean, there's no denying that. That was some incredible stuff that was going on, and
Tyler, Texas. You'd have never guessed it, huh?
I guess so. Hey, I mean, if this keeps popping up in different cities around the country, I'm just going to say the whole, how come we don't have proof that ghosts exist? I mean, that's a deep conversation that I can get into. How come science hasn't recognized this yet? But I've actually emailed Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist, because I caught him mocking paranormal, so I'd like to talk to him. So this thing's public. If you're out there, Neil, I'm waiting for that email back.
Public challenge right here on my show. I like it.
Hey, he's a lot smarter than me, but I'll hang on.
Come get some of this in New Orleans. So, speaking of me coming down there in June, we have that pretty big event that me and about, I don't know, freaking 20 some odd of my friends are going to come to.
Crashing that party quick,
Jackson.
son.
Huh?
Crashing that party quick. Texas
buddy.
Yeah, man, I couldn't believe. I mean, you got like 20 of your friends coming, man. There's only 21 seats, Yeah, dude, it's going to be so awesome. I mean, we got Hart, we got Randy, we got Kevin from Deep South Paranormal. I mean, if you watch the show, do you see how Randy and Hart and them interact with each other? It's just insane. I think I was on the phone with Hart the other night, and I think he said he was bringing a bullfrog. I'm not sure. Sometimes he's hard to understand, but some bullfrog breath will get you the protection of the spirits now.
Yeah, I just watched 3 episodes that they showed today on, or yesterday, was it today or yesterday on Chiller? I think it's this morning.
It was this morning, yeah.
This morning, and so I was watching that, and Randy was like, "You've got to be shitting me," and I was cracking up because I'm like, he has seriously put that nasty ass frog's head in his mouth, and he is sucking on something, and I was like, I know I'm working with him that night, but I am not. And I'm saying it right here on my show, will not be touching no frogs. No. So he can breathe that shit on around me, and I'll let him take care of that. I'm not doing that.
Hey, Randy did it. He was a good sport about the whole thing, but Randy lost the bet. So
yeah. Woo! Yeah, I'd have to lose some sort of bet. So tell us a little bit about the Andrew Jackson Hotel, the place that the big event is going to be held at. Tell us a little about.
Andrew Jackson, my paranormal group, was the first group to ever be allowed inside of Andrew Jackson to do an official investigation. Anytime before that, you'd have to rent out a room and then go in there, investigate that room or the courtyard. 1788, there was a great fire of New Orleans. It took out 75% of the French Quarter, and at that time, Andrew Jackson Hotel was an orphanage, and 4 boys died in that fire. And 4 boys do, in fact, haunt this place. I know. Not only I've gotten so many emails and messages on Facebook about people having experiences with the little boys at the hotel. I actually had, and this is weird because I can't find it now, but we caught an EVP of the little boys playing in the courtyard when we were doing an EVP session in the courtyard. Now, it's hard to get EVPs anywhere in the French Quarter because the French Quarter is so compact and everybody's drunk and sloppy and screaming and yelling. It's a big party thing. You know what I'm saying? But these were little kids playing. When you heard it, you could hear little kids playing. You know, they really wouldn't come out that night. There was a couple of guests. We had most of the hotel to ourselves. But there were a couple of guests there, and we were actually approached by a woman that night saying, there's 3 kids in my room pulling on my sheets and opening up my closet. I remember one claim was Andrew Jackson himself has actually been spotted there a couple of times, people say. Yes. So, but the man that we ran into that night wasn't Andrew Jackson. I can't say his name because the evidence that we found when we were in there, I made a whole video of it, presented the evidence to the owners of Andrew Jackson, and they looked at me and said, there's no way you're releasing this to the public. That's how intense the evidence that we got when we found when we were there. So, yeah, so it's really awesome that they're allowing me to come to throw this event. You know, it took me 9 months to talk them into this, you know. But they're such awesome people at the owners of Andrew Jackson Hotel. They also own Hotel St. Pierre. And, you know, great hotels, great staff, all really friendly. But, yeah, the place was active, you know. We that night, it wasn't, we you know, as a paranormal investigator, sometimes you put stuff so high of expectation. You know, I believe you just recently went through that. And you go in there, and it's supposed to be see, Andrew Jackson's like the 6th most haunted place in New Orleans in the French Quarter. And, yeah, and we went in there, and we didn't get much until after we reviewed everything. You know, at the time, we really didn't get much. You know, I will say one experience that I brought the founder of Ghost Quest Paranormal with me, Jeremy Leonard. Great guy. He's actually, we just announced, I'm about to announce this on the show that he is going to be one of the tour guides. Him and Tammy, his co-founder, are going to be one of the tour guides for us on the tours. So people are going to be, people are going to love that. If you don't know who he is, go on Facebook and check him out. He's a ton of fun. You know, we took a selfie last night, but he actually kept getting this metal, like lead taste in his mouth, and he had like a pain in his chest a little bit. So he was kind of like, I feel like I taste blood, you know? So that's all I'm going to get into it. I can't say anything else about what went down there that night. I shouldn't even have said that. But this place is haunted.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait.
But I wanted to make sure to tell everybody out there, you know, look, you can get the most haunted place in the world. Sometimes you can go in there and, of course, you're not getting anything. So if you're going to Andrew Jackson Hotel, there's always that chance. I always got to tell people there's always that chance that we won't get anything, but you're going to get something hanging around with Hart, Randy, and Kevin. I'll tell you that much. So.
Yeah. So how did you meet those guys? And if the audience is wondering, we're talking about the guys from Deep South Paranormal: Kevin Betzer, Randy Hardy, and Hart Fortenberry. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Hart just yet. I have been told that it's going to be a meeting of a lifetime that I won't soon forget. But Randy and Kevin, I have had the opportunity to actually meet, and they're so awesome that I don't even have really a word for it. I just was very surprised at how cool the guys were. Because, you know, I've met celebs before, and they ended up kind of not being so cool. So, you know, you kind of, you know, it was nice to you know, actually, you know, get around real dudes that you know, are cool. So how did you actually meet those guys?
Well, it's funny. My public relations investigator, Megan Cars, who just had a baby like 4 days ago, so I'd like to congratulate her on that. Her name's Lottie. She knew Kevin on Facebook. Kevin's, you know, they're both very active and very, you know, personal on Facebook. They'll talk to anybody, you know, and they're really in touch with their fan base. She was talking to Kevin. She was telling Kevin she was part of a paranormal group, and you know, then she messaged me and she told me, you know, give Kevin a holler, you know, just you know, see what they're about, see if they want to go on an investigation with us. So, you know what, I messaged Kevin, and he was like, yeah, we'll go on an investigation with you. And that's when I took him to the basement, the haunted basement in Uptown. We had that on our YouTube channel where we got that mommy EVP, when they were there. And I took them there, and I just met them that night. So people don't know, when you watched Return to Uptown, New Orleans, Part 2, that's actually the first night I met, Randy and Kevin. And it was like when we sat down, we met at Randy's bar, and it was just like we knew each other forever. We kind of just clicked, and during the investigation we clicked, and Kevin and I stayed in touch, Randy and I stayed in touch, and a lot of my ideas were their ideas, and then we started to put those ideas together, and you guys are watching them unfold now with the events and with the tours, and this is something we sat down a year ago and talked about, and it's finally getting on a roll. A lot of things stopped us from going forward, and life, people, so everything was at a hold, and finally what really landed the events was a Duff Green Mansion event. And I had met you by then already, Selena. You like, this place is haunted, and I had went on a limb, put all my cards on the table, and said, I'm throwing this event no matter what. The event sold out in 2 weeks. And then people were like, what?
Yeah.
The event sold out in 2 weeks, and it's in Vicksburg. It's not in New Orleans. New Orleans, people, it's New Orleans is such a tourist town that it's hard for. It's not like Tyler, Texas. You know what I'm saying? Like, all you guys really know each other there, and we're kind of like that in New Orleans, but we're a tourist attraction, so all the pricing and everything is through the roof. So I decided to do our first event outside of New Orleans just to test it out, and it was a success. So I said, you know what, let's go, let's do this Andrew Jackson event. And Kevin was like, you know what, you want it, man, we got your back. We want to start blowing New Orleans up. Nobody's doing for the paranormal, nobody's doing anything down in New Orleans except these walking tours. Let's do it, And so we do that, and as of today, Andrew Jackson Overnight Ghost Hunt is sold out, So that's a pretty big deal. We're very happy about that. It's going to be an awesome night, and there's going to be a lot more events to come. Once we get the tour settled, because that's been pretty chaotic, Who knew starting your own business wouldn't be easy, Yeah. We do this. We're just dealing with one problem after another, taking care of it, trying to, nothing's stopping us from our goals. When we set out goals and we've reached it, we set out other goals and we reached it, and perseverance and and drive is going to get us there. Pretty soon, we're going to be doing other things like conventions, and I can't say too much right now because there's a lot of stuff in the works. So you want to come down and experience the ghost of New Orleans? Come on, just look up NOLA Ghost Hunting Tours, and we'll be the ones to get you there.
Yeah, for sure. And then I got another question from the chat room. First off, they said it's from Ribbons99, and they said, huge fan, Chris. Just wondering, how often does your group use psychic mediums? Do you work with those a lot?
Well, I mean, we're mainly scientific based, but we're not biased. I will bring in a medium if I feel that we're not reaching the spirits through our equipment.
Right.
The skeptic is still inside of me, not for psychics, and don't twist my words here, people out there. I still have to have that bullheaded proof. You know what I'm saying? So if I can get a psychic to come in, and I know how difficult this is, and I'm not saying I don't believe in mediums and psychics, but if I can get one to come in and match my evidence, you know what I'm saying, for my equipment to back it up, then that's great. But I mean, it's like I've worked with psychics before, and I've tried experiments, and I brought 3 different psychics in at 3 different times at the same location and got 3 exactly different things. So it makes me, raise my eyebrow up, and I don't want my clients to be deterred from the truth.
Actual facts. Yeah.
I don't want them to be, I don't want that, but I got a lot of friends that are psychics, and and I love them to death. And just as of right now, we don't really use psychics that much. But who knows? Maybe in the near future we will.
So yeah, exactly. We actually have. Well, besides my being an empath or whatever, and I can feel the physical and the emotional part of it. Not so much the physical all the time, unless it's really strong. Mm-hmm. But my co-founder Penny has the ability to see and hear. And so we work together. But there is we have used another psychic, and even my biggest skeptic, who is my lead investigator and researcher, Al, he is a cop, by trade and in the military. So everything has to have a logical explanation for him. And so he is our biggest skeptic. And actually, he was during her walkthrough of this one location. She didn't even know where she was. She had no idea where she was. Nothing about the location. Nothing. We get her there, and from the moment she got out of the car, she was just hitting on all cylinders. Everything he had researched, every single thing. And he was like blown away, texting me, "This chick is awesome." I mean, she's like, "What the hell?" He was completely blown away by it, and it kind of changed his mind a little bit. And then he went with us when we helped Chip Coffee in Little Rock, and he saw Chip do his thing, and he's like, "Man, this shit may be for real." You know what I mean? These people may be really seeing and hearing shit that I'm not, capable of seeing. He's been in the military, so his sensitivity is like, he's like a rock solid guy. He doesn't show emotion a whole lot,
Well, Lindsay is actually on my team. She's a paranormal investigator. She's actually a medium. She doesn't come out and say it too much. You know what I'm saying? But the only time she'll really talk about it is when she knows for 100%. Like, hey, Chris, because a lot of mediums, they don't feel nothing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My equipment will be going up, and they'll be like, "Chris, I ain't feeling nothing." You know what I'm saying? And that's what I respect. That's what I need on my team, is somebody to be 100% honest with me 100% of the time, not somebody to tell me what they think I want to hear, Because what I want to hear is the truth. I don't want to hear your imagination or you lying to me, And I know there's a lot of psychics out there.
It's not there.
Exactly. Just for attention or for whatever. And Liz isn't like that. Liz will be like, "There's kids here. And I'll hear kids through my echo box," or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, and she's only 100% here. Or sometimes I'll be like, "You feel anything?" She's like, all I feel is kind of heaviness. That's it. So she tells me, she's no Chip Coffee, but who is, right?
Yeah, it's funny. We have a question in the chat room right now saying, "When are you guys going to get Chip to the Jumani Lounge?"
Wow.
How weird is that? Did we not
tell them to email Chip and ask him that, huh?
Yeah. We have already discussed this, actually. Chris and I have found out that he can get the locations, and I can promote and sell the hell out of tickets. So we're probably going to be working a lot together in the near future. Hopefully I can come to New Orleans a lot more than just once or twice a year. I'm hoping to get down there quite a few times, actually. We're going to try to get into the habit. We're thinking about doing something here in Texas, too. So y'all got to stay tuned for what me and Chris have up our sleeves. And it's going to be amazing, whatever we do. It won't be a disappointment, that's for sure. Now, we can't guarantee, like Chris said, we can't guarantee that they will come out and do what we want on command, because that's on TV, and that's the problem with the TV shows that are on, is that they don't show everything. There was a issue a couple of weeks ago on Facebook that somebody was calling someone else out, and the thing is, they didn't show what happened off the camera. They didn't show what they did other than what was shown on the show, to make it right or whatever. So you have to remember that not only do they not show everything, but they don't show all the boring, sitting there talking to yourself in the dark for hours. And then you have to go over hours of evidence just to find maybe somebody whispering in your ear or whispering something. it's not as exciting as the shows sometimes make it
That's
to be.
true. It's true. It's hours.
30 minutes or an hour.
People think, oh my God, I can go on a tour. I can go investigate for an hour, and I can get all the evidence that Ghost Adventures gets, or PSNO gets, or Details Paranormal gets, and it's just not the case. Sometimes sometimes you can walk into a spot in the first 30 minutes, bam, 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 stuff's hitting. You got REM pod activity, you got whispers. You know what I'm saying? You got all that, but that's rare. That's like winning like $100 on the lottery ticket and buying scratch-offs every week. You know what I'm saying? It's rare.
Exactly. So the Duff Green thing, the event y'all had there. Tell me a little bit about the activity that y'all done at Duff Green.
Wow, what an event that was, huh? Wow. It blew my mind, I mean, I was a nervous wreck, of course, because I'm the event organizer. And, I got to give a shout-out to my equipment tech, Ray. Ray, I'm not going to say your last name because I still can't pronounce it yet, but I love you, buddy. He's there for me doing all the work. He made sure that everybody was getting what they need to get. I just want to give him a shout out, and Liz, and also John, my investigators that were at that event. I'd like to give them a big shout out for the great job they did. We went in there, we split up in the groups through the Echovox during the night. Not only did we captured, it's hard to see, it's on our Facebook page, but I'm sitting there talking to one of the guests, and Ray walks around to go into a room to check something out, and he walks by the front door, and the front door was open, like about this much, okay? And then he walks by, and all of a sudden you hear go, click, and he turns and he looks, and he's like, I don't pay no attention to it. I'm talking to the guests. I'm, talking and whatever. And he's like, guys, I'm the only one to just see that door close, And then the door closed by itself. They saw shadows. Numerous, like 4 or 5 people saw shadows. A couple people got touched. Our equipment went off the Echovox. Through the Echovox, we found out some things. We found out a man had his left arm amputated because he was shot. They didn't have any medication, and he passed out from the pain. And this was a full conversation of us asking questions, getting direct responses through the Echovox. And it was just crazy. And actually, there was that one room, the Dixie room where you stayed at, right? When you were there, you stayed in that room?
Yep. That's
where that apparition's always seen. Well, we stirred up that place. That place was just, you get all these people in there and something happened, it was so active. It's a funny story. We all went to bed. It was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. We were so tired, So I crawled into bed in the Dixie suite, and I knew I was going to hear whispers or hear something like that happen. So I put my headphones on. I start listening to some Tool to go to sleep. And next thing you know, I feel like this cold static grabbed my elbow. And I jerk my elbow and I go, playtime's over with, I'm going to sleep. And I passed out. So I woke up at 10 o'clock in the morning, came out, so I slept for about 4 or 5 hours. I got everything ready. I come out and I look in Liz's room. Liz isn't there. I look in Ray's room. Ray's in there. And I go in John's room, and all of them are piled up in this room together. And I was like, shit. I was like, look at this. I said, what are y'all doing? They're like, man, it got crazy after you went to bed. We kept seeing shadows and getting touched. So we all went and slept in the same bed. I said, professional paranormal investigators here, huh?
That's sad.
Yeah, Duff Green was amazing. I want to throw another event. I want to go back. The people at Duff Green, Clyde, couldn't thank them enough for the hospitality that they gave us. It was just amazing.
Yeah,
very active night.
Yeah, it's Duff Green is awesome, and that's when I got my girls from Fear Paranormal in Houston. We were down there in that little apartment that y'all couldn't access, and
yeah, we didn't have access.
I'd been whistling Dixie, getting on Kathy's nerves all damn day, and she's like, holy crap. She goes, if these spirits don't come out and do something to make this bitch stop whistling this crap all day, I'm going to lose it. So Linda goes, just one more time, and I did it, and then you hear this, I whistled it, and then you hear this man's voice go, no.
Yeah.
I pissed off some sort of soldier for the other team, you know what I'm saying? But the thing about Duff Green that was so cool was that even today they still have the cannonball that was shot from the river up in the roof, which is cool. And I never got to actually go up there and see that because people live in Duff Green, which is rather different. They had one guy living in that apartment or in that room across from where I slept, and then you stayed in that room. There was one guy over there, and then Brad and Barry slept in the other room there, and then the girls slept in the room where they piled up the body parts. Because my room we stayed in was the actual surgical room where they actually cut off the apparition. I mean the limbs and stuff, and that's where you see the armless, legless, sometimes just a torso. Sometimes they said of apparitions. When I stayed in that room, I heard. First off, the weird thing was we kept finding these huge ass-like caterpillar-like things. They were black, and you step on them, and they were just like, oh my God, and they were like 2 or 3 of them in the floor of that room, and I'm like, why is it only this room? This is just gross. I mean, what are these things? I said, if I find one in my bed, I swear to God, I'm going to freak out. And so after it was just yuck, man. I was like, what is this? Why are they in this room? How are they getting here? But after everyone went to bed, and I put a periscope up by the door, and I had the camera running on me all night long in the room so I could see if anything messed with me or whatever. And I was laying there, and I was almost asleep, and I heard footsteps. And I'm like, oh boy. And so I opened up my eyes a little bit, and the room just lit up in green from the periscope going off, because I was like, oh, something's in my room. Awesome. So I just kind of laid there, but I looked at the tape and I couldn't really see anything, but you can hear different noises at night. But there was also a real bad thunderstorm that night we were there, and it was just like,
so ours. We had a thunderstorm that night too. That was crazy. Well, it wasn't like, it was coming down. That was crazy. Clyde, the manager there, here's one of the theories that I have. Okay, and I've experienced this too. He's only had one paranormal experience there, and he was redoing the floor in the Dixie suite, and he had a bucket full of nails and hammers and all that stuff. And he leaves for a few minutes. I think he goes and gets lunch, and he comes back. He gets back to work, and he reaches in there and he pulls out a wad of hair. Like an old wad of hair. And he's like, where did this come from? I was just using this to work, So, somebody saying something funny on there. Better not be Kevin.
Yeah, actually, they're saying that Chris is like a vampire, no lights. And they said the stat. And Kevin laughed, and then he said, Chris stat.
Kevin, go play with your cats. Okay, nobody want to hear me.
Oh, that's great.
But he found a wad of hair, and but he's never had any other paranormal experience. He was working, he had the bucket of tools, and he reached down, and there was a wad of hair, and that was kind of weird and freaky. But he's never had any other, and he lives there, and he's never had any other paranormal experience. I think if the spirits are happy with you in a haunted location, and they don't mind you being there, you'll never even know they're there. As soon as you piss them off or do something renovating, then you're going to know they're there. So that's why people are like, well, I've lived here for years, and all we did was add a jacuzzi, and now all this paranormal activity is happening. I was like, well, I hope you're enjoying that jacuzzi now, so.
You might have people watching you in your little jacuzzi.
Hey, if spirits want to follow me home and watch what I do on a daily basis in my house, man, I don't know. They must have, where they were at must have been kind of rough,
Boring.
They're just going to watch me lay on the couch and watch basketball or something.
Well, so we're at the end of the show. So will you tell everybody where they can find you on Facebook and tell them where to get in touch with you for the ghost hunting tours?
Yes, you can call our box office number. It's 504-708-3567. Our Facebook is www.facebook.com/NOLA Ghost Hunts. You can go to our website, www.NOLAGhostHuntingTours.com. And I'm on Facebook. You can go to www.facebook.com/ParanormalNola. Find my team, PSNO. I got a bunch of links. Just pick one. You'll find us.
Well, thank you so much for being on my show, and I'm glad that we got Andrew Jackson full, and it's going to be good. We're going to have a great time. So we'll have you back on when we start working on our next events, and we'll be talking about those. Thanks a lot, Chris.
All right, thanks, Selena. Take care, okay?
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, that was Chris Melancon from NOLA Ghost Tours and Paranormal Society in New Orleans. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I do have a couple of announcements. We have Granbury Paranormal Expo coming up May 17th. Y'all need to come check that out. It's like $5 at the door. It's from 10 to 5 in Granbury. And I'll be speaking. I'm actually the first up to speak at 11 a.m. So come and check it out. And then I'm going to be going down there to NOLA and checking out the Andrew Jackson. We actually, I believe it is sold out now. And most of the people are coming from Texas that I know, so it's going to be a real big blast. Y'all sure missed out on it. We'll have to have another event there. I also want to let you know to be checking out Facebook, Fear's Facebook page. We have t-shirts and hoodies on sale. Y'all can get them. Just inbox me and I'll tell you how to do that. Also, if you need anything from Ghost Hunter Store Paranologies, you can check out the Fear website, and there's a tab on there that says Ghost Hunter Store, and if you need anything Paranologies, just inbox me and I'll check it out. Our sponsors I'd like to thank: Syntex Roof System in Waco. They're on it. Able Towing anywhere around Texas, actually. They'll come hook you up and help you out of a bad situation. And the last but not least, NOLA Ghost Tours. I want to thank Chris for being on my show tonight. Next week is Brandy Hurd, the author of Haunted Granbury, and she also does the Granbury Ghost Walk. So check us out next week. And until then, peace out.